according to Luke, chapter 17, verses 11 through 19. This can be found on the New Testament of your Pew Bibles on page 78. On the way to Jerusalem, he was passing along between Samaria and Galilee. And as he entered a village, he was met by 10 lepers who stood at a distance and lifted up their voices and said, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." When he saw them, he said to them, "Go and show yourselves to the priests." And as they went, they were cleansed. Then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice, and he fell on his knees at the face of Jesus, giving him thanks. Now he was a Samaritan. Then he said, "Jesus, were not 10 cleansed? Where were the 9? Where was no one found to return and give praise to God except for this foreigner?" And he said to him, "Rise and go your way. Your faith has made you well." Here ends the reading this morning.
I'm going to show you a little video clip from a social researcher you probably heard of. Her name is Brene Brown, and she is big on the whole TED Talk stage. So here she is.
Jesus makes complete sense to me. Because this is my whole thing. I believe God is love. It's that simple and that complicated. And so if you try to express love to human beings and just came down and said, "I am love each other," we automatically, because we're so afraid of hard things, we would automatically go to like unicorns and rainbows. And so you would have to send someone to show what love in the flesh looks like. You would have to send, what does love look like? And so otherwise, we would romanticize it. We would turn it, we would make it easy. Because that's who we are as people. We're going to make it easy. And so then Jesus comes and says, "Okay, I am love. I sit with the people you're not allowed to talk to. I do all the hard things. I make all the hard choices. I love the people who are unlovable. I feed the people who are not supposed to be taken care of. I don't tolerate shame. I don't tolerate attacks. Like, I'm love, and it's hard and messy and dirty. And if you really love, I mean fierce, big love, you'll become dangerous to people. And so there's no way that most of us could have understood what love was without seeing what love looked like. So to me, it makes perfect sense. And so God is love, and Jesus is what love looks like in flesh. And it's hard, and it's not the default, and it has nothing to do with rainbows and unicorns and fluffy stuffed animals. It's about choosing what's right over what's easy. We don't want love to be that.
Well, so I'm going to try to out-preach Brene Brown right now. So, what strikes you about what Brene Brown said? Anything kind of stir your soul? You love the idea that love is messy. Love is messy. It's never supposed to be easy. Yeah. Anything else? Yes? Jesus came to show God's nature and character. Character, I like that word. Yeah. Anything else? Yes. It's difficult. It's difficult. Not easy. So the topic of the sermon is on gratitude. What is Brene Brown saying that is at all related to living your life more full with thanksgiving, more filled with gratitude, having that attitude of gratitude? Is there any connection? I think I stumped you all. Yeah. But what about this story of the 10th leper? Is there anything about that story that made you think? 9 to go to the priest. I mean, Jesus told them to go to the priest. They go to the priest, and that's the end of it. But there's one who comes back who can't go to the priest because he's a foreigner. And he's filled with thanksgiving, and then Jesus is like, wow, where do the other ones go? Your faith has made you well. What was about that story, anything about that story stir you? It was thankful. The others went away. Anybody reflect on whether or not you are exactly thankful when you experience healing and wholeness? And where do you direct that thanksgiving? How do you use your healing? What are your main concerns about healing? These are things that we all deal with. We're human beings. So, what Brene Brown is talking about is how difficult love is, that it's messy. And the same thing goes for being thankful, being gracious, right? Because one of the things that Brene, if you're familiar with her work at all, she deals with is how inauthentic many of our lives are. Like when we experience stress, or something, we go into fantasy. We create the rainbows and the unicorns, or we try to become perfectionists. Like, if I only make the best apple pie, it doesn't matter that I'm grieving the loss of my husband. Or denial. I don't have a problem. What problem? And so these are the things that make us sick. And they make us not very thankful, not very loving, not very kind. The example of Jesus helps us to open up our hearts into this bigger presence of God. So about this 10th leper. The 9 others, what happened to them? They went to the temple, they got healed, it was great. They don't come back, they don't praise God, they don't come back to Jesus at all. What's up with that? I think it talks about our ultimate concern, right? That ultimately, the reason we don't want to be sick is because we're not going to be a part of society. We're not going to be able to do the things that we really wanted to do. So if we get well, what do? We go immediately to the institutional answer. Like, you know, a young person has an accident and they have to be in a hospital for 6 months in recovery, and they get healed. What are they going to do next? Oh, I'm going to go to college. Oh, I'm going to find somebody to hook up with. Right? Because that's the way we are. Our happiness is all in that. And so when that person gets healed, are they going to thank God? No, they're going to thank the college that accepted them, or the beautiful person they meet, who they can have a relationship with. But this one guy, this one leper, he's a Samaritan. He's a foreigner living alongside the Jewish people. And the Samaritan doesn't have a temple that's going to say, oh, you're okay now. And he gets healed, and he thanks God. Filled with praise. Filled with praise. So it's not like that Samaritan's any better than the other 9. Okay? It's like he doesn't have any other place to go. But fundamentally, we can all learn from that 10th leper. Is that all of this stuff we're attached to that really kind of gets in the way of us being loving, thankful, gracious people has to do with our concern with the social order, our status, who we are, our tribe, our identity, all of that. It gets in the way. We want to be thankful, like that leper, right? You ever looked at the statistics for in the Psychology Today, or even the Wall Street Journal will publish, the Forbes magazine, benefits of gratitude. Well, here's some benefits of gratitude. Gratitude opens the door to more relationships. Right? You're more likely to hold the door for somebody else, help somebody, you spark up a conversation. Gratitude improves your physical health. Yes, it does. Helps you get out of bed in the morning, get to the gym, eat right, eat what you think is good, because you're grounded in gratitude and happiness. You don't have to shove your face at night with food to feel better. Gratitude improves your mental health. You're less likely to be depressed. Gratitude enhances your empathy and reduces aggression. Because you're feeling grounded in grace, that you're happy and joyful, you can accept people for who they are. You're not threatened by them. Gratitude improves self-esteem. I've done studies about this. So if you're feeling gratitude, you're not comparing yourself to other people. You say, well, that person has more gratitude than me. How can I be more like that person? What is it with that person anyway? Gratitude increases mental strength. Studies have shown on those who made it through the Vietnam War, and those who have suffered from PTSD after serving in Afghanistan or Iraq. they're more resilient. They're more able to overcome their post-traumatic stress disorder. So, all I'm going to say to you is just be more thankful. Just be more thankful. Here's the problem, though. Have you ever been blue? Have you ever been down? And somebody just says, oh, just be more thankful. What do you feel like doing to them? Right? Are you kidding me? Right? How does this work? You can't be thankful if you're not feeling thankful. So anyway, there's this story, St. Francis, right? St. Francis, there was this village, and there was a wolf that was eating the livestock, and the people they're trying to kill the wolf. They couldn't kill the wolf. St. Francis comes in, and he says, like, I'll deal with the problem. So he goes to the wolf, he smiles at the wolf, he opens his arms, and he puts down a thing of porridge. The wolf comes over and eats up the porridge. He's hungry. And he does that every day. And the townspeople start donating the porridge, and guess what? The wolf leaves the livestock alone. Another story, St. Francis, right? His turning point, because he was a war veteran. He fought in a really difficult war. He probably suffered from all kinds of stuff, okay? He probably witnessed many difficult things. So after the war, he volunteers at a leper colony. And at first, it's really hard for him to help these people. They disgust him. He learns to love them. He learns to love them. And it makes St. Francis, the rich dude who was a warrior, into St. Francis, the friar, who can speak with animals and stuff like that. All right? It's that he learned to love himself through loving those who are unlovable. And there are stories of him like meeting those people later on the street, and he would just grab them in his arms and just kiss them and hug them, love them. So Richard Rohr, who's a Franciscan priest, and he's a centering prayer guy and deep contemplative. I really like his work a lot. He says this: deep within each of us live a leper. Each of us, deep within each of us is a leper and a wolf. These stories did happen historically with Francis, but first they operate in the soul. We must first encounter and embrace the leper and the wolf inside. If we haven't been able to tame many wolves, it's probably because we haven't made friends with our leper or wolf within. Name your poor leper within. Nurse and tend her wounds. Name your inner wolf. Tame him with gentle forgiveness. Wait, we got that hungry part of ourselves, the wolf. We got that part of ourselves that feels so sick that it's like beyond repair. We have to deal with that. We need to become the change we desire. And the only way to do that is to do it with that work. How do you do that work? 12-step programs are great ways of dealing with that. Therapy, fantastic. To be held in a listening presence, to hear your concern, to have that concern held, to hear yourself, your own strategies, talk about those things. Because we all of us carry burdens that we just can't tell to everybody. And it wouldn't be appropriate if we did. Right? We don't want to be defined by those skeletons in the closet anymore. We've got to get over that. We've got to forgive that. Right? Contemplative prayer, another fantastic way. You get to see and observe your egoic mind the mind that defines, the mind that controls, the mind that categorizes, judges. You get to see your deep grief, the deep pain that you hold as it is. And you can compassionately allow it, and compassionately allow it to go. And what happens when all of that stuff goes? Then you have the non-dual consciousness of God. And that is the heart of thanksgiving. That is the heart of gratitude. That is that moment where each thing is a gift. Today is a gift. That's why they call it the present. Right? We can all be more grateful, loving people. More joy-filled people. We can all be the 10th leper. We can. We can do it. We just got to get beyond all of that concern with the world and the labels and the definitions in our mind and its need to control things. And it got to let go and let God. Therapy, mindfulness, good works. Francis had his epiphany, right, with that leper in the leper colony after he'd served in the war. I had an experience like that. I was working 2 jobs, full schedule at Andover Newton Divinity School, a baby at home, and I was stressed out. And we belonged to the Elliott Church of the Newtons at that time, my family. That's a congregational church, UCC church. And they had a group that they sent to Rosie's place. So I went to Rosie's place, and I'm like, I bring the food in, okay, I did my duty. What is this all about? And these people, I mean, come on, let's deal with the real problems. Let's elect somebody new who can deal with the issues of homelessness. I mean, that's where I was at, right? So I get the food, I say, well, what do we do now? It's like, go sit down with them. What, sit down with them? What if they have diseases, right? Fear of the lepers. And I sat down, I had a conversation with this homeless woman. Turned out, she had been a seminarian, go figure. She had gone to Andover Newton. She knew all about theology, and she was a wonderful person. It was amazing, right? And it made me realize, there's no leper, there's no any, we're all one, right? And that was a healing experience. So, therapy, 12-step programs, mindfulness, contemplative prayer, these works of service that we do together, these things that we put on for the community, they're healing. That's why we do it. So that we can be like that 10th leper, filled with thanksgiving and praise and joy, and we can get over ourselves. All right? God bless you. And I'll leave you with this from Cahill Gibran. He wrote The Prophet. You pray in your distress and your need. Would that you might pray also in the fullness of your joys in the days of your abundance. Peace to you.